fibromyalgia. Leah, welcome to the program.
Thank you, WL. It's so great to be here.
So, how many people are affected with fibromyalgia?
Well, it's depending on what you read, it's 3 to 6% of the population. And just in the United States, there's over 350 million people. So you can do the math. It's millions of people.
And it's a pretty tough disease because of all the pain and everything that it causes. And yet people on the outside seem to look in and say, well, are you faking it? Or, you look all right. Is that a tough hurdle to overcome?
Well, yeah, there's a number of things. People don't have a obvious disfigurement. From one day to the next, their symptoms can dramatically be different. If you have an injury and you're limping on your left leg all the time, that seems legit, right? But one day you're limping on your left leg, one day you're not limping at all. The next day, your arm hurts and you can't move it. So the symptoms are always kind of going around differently, very seemingly arbitrarily. Some days people are fine, some days they're not. So it's very confusing for the person having the illness, but the people who are witnessing it, it's mind-boggling.
Okay. How about the medical profession? Are they catching up with being able to diagnose?
Well, okay, so at first it was like, this isn't a real illness. And now it's gone the pendulum the other way. It's like they're diagnosing everybody with it without looking at other things that mimic it, like such as exposure to mold or Epstein-Barr virus or some other things like that. So now it went from not actually being an illness to being a garbage can diagnosis. So somewhere in between is probably the truth, where they really should look at other things that could be causing the symptoms. And then keep open to, well, maybe it's fibromyalgia, because whether they believe it's a real illness or whatever, people are getting sick with a consistent set of symptoms over and over, and they are really suffering and they really need help.
Okay, so let's talk about help, and probably the best way to talk about help is to talk about you, and let's just give them a quick overview of how long you suffered with it before things turned around.
Well, I was sick altogether 18 years, and the last 6 years, maybe a little longer, I was in bed 12 to 16 hours a day. I was no longer able to work, and my life was just terrible. Actually, when I turned 40, I asked God to either take me or cure me, because I was just looking down the barrel of some really terrible consequences of getting just sicker and sicker and sicker with no end in sight. And that was the year I found the answers I found, and that was the year I recovered.
Okay. All right. So what was the first thing that gave you hope?
Well, I met a holistic practitioner locally who was giving a talk called "Why Is Everyone So Sick?" And I didn't really care why everyone was so sick. I just cared why I was so sick. I was under the idea that maybe something more was wrong with me than just fibromyalgia. So I was kind of like looking for another diagnosis or another way to help or something like that. I've been reading a lot of alternative stuff, been trying a lot of alternative stuff. And because I pretty much tapped out of whatever was available, 13 years ago from conventional medicine. And she said to me that she used to have fibromyalgia. And I was like, wow, I've never heard anybody say that. So I did the things she said to do, and I worked with her for a long time. We had a very interesting relationship where I got better and I started doing some business deals with her. And so I got to know her really well over a long period of time because we were doing business stuff together. And so we had a coaching relationship kind of, by happenstance. So what I've done in the past with my clients is that I've helped them have an actual coaching relationship with me, where I take them by the hand on a program that's I've designed, but I personalize it for them.
Okay. So what's the first step I need to take to begin a recovery?
Well, I have 7 steps in my book, 7 steps to, freedom from fibromyalgia, 7 steps to complete recovery. 7 steps sounds kind of overwhelming, but there's just 2 phases. One is the phase where you start to feel better. I call that the healing quantum leap, the health quantum leap. So that's one phase. And then the other phase is where you're in active recovery. So I call that the complete health recovery phase. So what we do to get people up off the sofa or up out of bed is we do a very gentle detoxification, which wasn't possible years ago. Actually, I was reading a alternative medical book called Radical Medicine. And in it, the doctor laments that the people who are the sickest and most toxic can't handle a detox regimen because it makes them so much sicker. Well, the detox that I did and people in my community have done is actually super gentle, and it's perfect for people with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and things like that. It's perfect for everybody, but I'm specifically narrowing into this niche because that's my story and my truth.
Right. Okay, hold on just a second. Let's talk about the detox for a moment. What is detoxification? Why is that important?
Well, so in the model of fibromyalgia that I work with is that people's bodies are under toxic overload. And that seems to be pretty much the model most alternative health practitioners use when they're working with people with fibromyalgia. Just how they're going about detoxifying people is a little bit different. We use a mineral called zeolites, which sounds like a brand name, but that's actually the geological name of it. And we use the supplement form, not the form like the raw rocks people use to keep their fish tanks filtered water clean. But there's the supplement form of zeolites, and we use that in combination with a colonizing therapeutic grade probiotic, which there's a lot of probiotics on the market now, and some are colonizing, a few are. But when I started, there were hardly any probiotics on the market, and hardly any of them were colonizing.
Okay.
Which means
let me get the first name that you gave me, the zeolite. How do I spell that?
ZEOLITE.
ZEOLITE. Okay. And what does it specifically do for me?
It gets rid of toxins. It binds to toxins and gets them out of your body. Within 24 hours, it binds to the zeolites. Zeolites in nature actually have it's rare negative charge electronically. And the things that are bad for you in your body, like mercury, lead, cadmium, they have a positive charge. The zeolites bind with those, and they're out of your body within 24 hours. So when your body is exposed to toxins, and people are like, well, I'm not in a dangerous profession or something like that. You're exposed to toxins all the time. You're exposed to mercury. You're exposed to lead. I mean, even in the air, if you live near an interstate or an Autobahn, you're exposed to lead and the gasoline. So it's a lot more prevalent in the environment than people realize. And our bodies, people with fibromyalgia, are really bad at getting rid of toxins. They're not very efficient at it. So, and a lot of that has to do with gut health. That's where the colonizing probiotic comes in, and it proves.
Okay, now you say that's a colonizing probiotic.
I have some herbal iced tea I got at Panera Bread earlier today. I'm still sipping on.
Okay, now tell me about the tea again.
Oh, I had lunch at Panera Bread today, and I have my herbal iced tea. So I eat everything but the bread at Panera Bread.
Okay, now let's talk about this for just a second. Did you change your diet very much? Because diet seems to be very important. The people that I have been reading are talking about it, having a major impact on our health, because the amount of sugar that we're consuming and the processed foods that we're eating are having a terrible detrimental effect on our health. So how much of that was in your life?
Well, my diet was pretty decent. I had done the Atkins diet many years prior, so I'd already switched from margarine to butter. Eating real fat is super important. What I have my top 5 healing foods that people really need to stuff into their diet as much as possible: eggs, butter, liver, which you can take in capsules, chicken broth, and Celtic sea salt. Those are the top 5 things that really need to be added in everybody's diet as much as possible.
Okay. All right.
And,
okay. So sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to get those points clear
right.
in my mind. So
but I want to be clear that having a perfect diet may not be possible for someone who's in a fatigue state. And what we do is, with these 2 supplements combined, it's like 1 + 1 equals 5. And that gets them feeling better, and they can start to do more and more to improve their health. And so I deal with now. So diet is important, but it's like step 4.
okay. So from your perspective, then, that the supplements were a bigger help than the diet change, at least in the initial stage.
Initially. So to go from completely bedridden to starting to feel like you can get up and start doing some things, it's the supplements that got people there.
Okay.
And then the diet starts to get you even higher. And then when you get even higher, then you start looking at sleep and additional toxins in your environment. And then the last piece, unlike what other doctors say, is exercise.
Okay. So the supplements got you to the point where you were feeling enough better, you could start changing diet, and addressing the dietary changes have impact towards the long term.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, sugar is I mean, if somebody did nothing else but cut out sugar, they would probably see an improvement in their symptoms within 10 days.
Right. And so what do you substitute for sugar? I mean, I've got a sweet tooth.
Yeah. So I have a saying: there's no such thing as a free sweet. So if you don't have sugar, you either have carbohydrates or you have chemicals. So, I mean, you can have honey, you can have, they have erythritol, monk fruit, and things like that. Stevia is pretty okay. It's just that at the end of the day, you're whenever you have something sweet, even if it's not even like regular sugar sweet, you're still activating all that yeast and that candida yeast and that I want sugar. So you're activating that.
Right. Okay. All right. So where do we go then? Where'd you go next?
Well, I'll just say the 7 steps. The first step is the mindset. So if I handed you on a silver platter the cure for fibromyalgia and you did not even have an inkling that that would be possible or possible for you, then if you're not open to things, if you're not trying things, if you're not able to relax, a lot of the stuff isn't going to be available to you. But what I look at is, if someone's in my world seeing me, then on some level they're open and available to it. So that mindset is first. And you also have the mindset to take care of yourself. It takes some determination to do this and see it through. And a lot of people need constant reminders about that. Or if they don't have a supportive spouse, so that goes into the mindset about relationships. Once people start recovering and getting well, and then they start having opinions about how things are going, that actually can cause a little friction in their family. So I like to say that when I first recovered, my husband and I had to renegotiate our relationship. So on the one hand, it was like, we're talking about finances and some things like that he had to handle all by himself the best he could. And on the other hand, it was like, we were like honeymooners because we had a whole new lease on life, and I got pregnant. So at 41, I was just participating in a rekindled marriage, I guess. So
okay. So communication is important in good times and bad times.
Always. Yeah. And you should know you've been married how long?
Oh, I'm just a newlywed. We've only been married for 49 years.
Oh, yeah.
So, so no, I'm getting to be pretty well trained, but you know, it's still a struggle on some days. Okay, let me recap for just a minute and see if you would agree with this assessment. The, a very first step is I have to have hope that there is something for me, whether it's fibromyalgia or any other sickness or whatever. I need to have hope. Once I get past the hope and start to believe in the help that is there, then would you say that is the thing that's going to automatically follow? Hope is the belief, the faith that yes, this can happen. And then the next thing I have to do is I have to want it bad enough. I mean, you can tell me, Leah, that if I smoke cigarettes, I'm going to die of lung cancer. Okay, well that's later, so it's okay. I'm going to keep smoking. All right. So if we're going to have any kind of a healing in our body, we have to be willing to say, all right, I am going to be disciplined enough to take the necessary steps.
Right. And I know people get self-care fatigue, but this is taking care of yourself is a commitment and it's a decision. It's just a decision away. You don't have to remake that decision over and over again. Make it once and follow through.
Right.
And it doesn't, I mean, what I say is it doesn't have, you don't have to recover from fibromyalgia my way. My way is one of many.
Right.
All you got to do is a Google search or a YouTube search, or, I mean, some of that stuff's been kind of blacklisted now because it's natural health, but all you have to do is search out and you will find people. They've done different things to recover. This is what worked for me. It's worked for a lot of people, and I'm trying to share it out to the world.
Okay. All right. So now that I've decided that I am willing to pay the price, okay, then what?
Well, then a way to do it, that's just the details. That's just the details. That'll come, and you know, things will pop up that you didn't expect. Have you found that in your life that if you made a heartfelt decision, you didn't know the house, but you made a heartfelt decision to do something, then the way along the way revealed itself to you?
Yes, I would think that my answer would have to be yes on that. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine was in the hospital with myasthenia gravis and a few other things that were wrong with him, to the point that he was actually in the hospital for roughly 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And so we're friends, and I was concerned about him. So I paid the price of driving 45 minutes one way to get there and 45 minutes home. And I did that every day for the month.
Oh, wow.
But what I observed in the hospital, I don't want to say it scared me to death, but it certainly made an impact on me. I decided I am not going to go through the indignities that he has been suffering and the pain of being in that hospital and suffering with his diseases. And so I decided I'm going to lose weight. And in about 30 days, I lost about 45 pounds. And
wow.
It wasn't a diet. I refer to it as my favorite diet. Just stop eating so much. And that's really what I did. I just cut back my eating significantly, and I lost the weight. And of course, now I'm going back on a new program of changing my diet and eating more greens, and at least that's my intent at the moment. Let's see if I can follow through and take off 10 of the pounds that I put back on after losing 45.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's your body's kind of a work in progress all the time, isn't it?
It is. So I do have to have a commitment.
Right. Right. And
And
sometimes you have to revisit those commitments.
right. Okay. So it's you can't just take a pill and be cured from fibromyalgia overnight.
No, 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 no. It took you a long time to get sick. It's going to take you a while to recover. So I tell people, sometimes people feel better within a couple of days. Sometimes people feel better within 90 days. Most feel better within about a month. Start seeing changes, not recovered, but start seeing changes for the better within about a month. And so it takes a commitment to, take supplements 3 times a day. Sometimes they taste yucky. Sometimes they're, sometimes you have to fiddle around things. Sometimes you have to make some organizational stuff. So I always say to people, what you want to get organized, you want to get a plan, you get a start date, and then move out and get your stuff and move out on that. And that seems to help people a lot to kind of get the mindset to go ahead and do this.
Okay, let's talk about the supplements for just a minute, Leah. There are those who say that the supplements are a waste of time, that if you're going to get the vitamins and nutrients that you need to get that from food.
Well, that was true 100 years ago, but the soil wasn't depleted of minerals 100 years ago. So what people need, unless you're eating like biodynamic organic food from plants and dairy and animal products, like those type of things, then you're not probably getting the nutrition you need. There are very few places on the planet that people are getting the nutrition they need from the food that they're eating locally. I mean, I'm talking like tribes in the middle of the Amazon forest. Like that's how rare it is nowadays. So with the chemical and commercial farming, the soil's been depleted of nutrients. So we're not getting the nutrition we need from the foods that we eat. That's why, and here's the deal with supplements. Supplements add to your health, where pharmaceutical and medications, they suppress symptoms. So sometimes you need a pharmaceutical medication just to get through whatever you're doing. Like if people are in a lot of pain, they need a pharmaceutical medication just to function, which I totally get. And I actually support that. What I don't support is this use of pharmaceutical medications for life. And as one suppresses one symptom and another symptom flares up, because your body, that's the only way it talks to you is through symptoms. Something else, then we got to suppress that. And then you're playing whack-a-mole and you've got 15 medications.
Right, right. And I don't know if you watch any TV or not, but I have watched a little bit of TV. And since the election, they don't have the politicians on every night, but Big Pharma is there every night. And everybody has a solution for every kind of a disease. And they talk about how wonderful the pill is. And then they say, well, there are some side effects. You got this, 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 and this. And oh, by the way, you may die.
Including death.
Yeah, including death.
Supplements support health, support the body. So you're not just trading one pill for another. Supplements support the health. And, and nowadays, so if I was on 12 different prescription medications. So if I were to, like, say I left home and I forgot my bag of meds, I would be in trouble. Like my body would start to go into all kinds of withdrawals and things like that. I might have problems being coherent because I was on antidepressant, anti-anxiety. I was on 3 different medications for pain, sleep, everything. So if I went off all my medications abruptly, that would be bad news. I'd probably get in the hospital. If I left my bag of supplements, I'd be okay. I'm all right. Like, it's okay. Maybe I'll go into a health food store and get a couple. It's not that big a deal. I feel so much freer,
Okay. So you're suggesting that we need the supplements and we need a good diet.
Yeah. Yeah. And what people think of as a good diet and what I not prescribe, but what I recommend is is a little bit different than what the mainstream is. I'm very much about nutrient dense food, superfoods that people haven't heard about, like eggs and liver.
And
people don't realize how nutrient dense those foods are. And I'm not talking about gross liver from the grocery store. You know, you want to make sure it's pasture raised, organic, and you don't have to eat liver and onions. You can get it freeze dried in pills and just take the pills or capsules.
Okay. I had a guest on last week who was talking about the curing diabetes for her husband, and basically they did zero gluten, zero sugar, and zero dairy. And you know, so that sounds real good until you start trying to look at your diet and figure, all right, now what am I going to replace milk with? What am I going to replace cottage cheese with? You know, well, those are things that I like, but everybody's going to have something that is quote unquote not good for them. Right. So you have to come. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a big Weston A. Price Foundation fan. I've been an international speaker for them and a chapter leader. Raw milk is quite a bit different food than the dairy, the conventional dairy that's available now. And raw milk is actually a health food. It has all kinds of enzymes in it, and it has a really good distribution of magnesium, phosphorus, and calcium that your body readily absorbs. So not all dairy is bad.
Are you telling me that if I go milk the cow, put it in the refrigerator, cool it, and drink it, it's going to be okay for me, as opposed to going down to the grocery store and getting a carton of pasteurized milk?
That's pretty much it. Although I don't see you having a cow in your backyard. Too easy where you live. So you might want to get it directly from the farmer and it not be pasteurized. I'm in what they call a herd share. That's what I have to do where I live, because you can't buy raw milk commercially or just like in the store. So I have a herd share, and I've been giving my son raw milk since he weaned, and well, actually probably since before he weaned, but he has a beautiful straight white teeth. He's healthy. He's happy. He's got clear skin. We don't go completely gluten-free. We only eat bread that's been soaked, soured, or sprouted. So such as sourdough bread or Ezekiel bread. And so we don't go completely gluten-free, but everything we eat is organic. And I have some rules about eating gluten. I never eat gluten without butter or fat. So it has to be soaked, sprouted, or soured and eaten with fat. And I'm very picky about the carbohydrates I do eat. I'm picky about all the food I eat, but the carbohydrates in particular. And there's a lot of traditional foods that, if you look at like French cooking or something like that, that are very beneficial for health. People have been eating this food for centuries and been able to maintain health, been able to have healthy children and raise healthy children, not just have them, but raise them, and so on. So it's things that people did 200 years ago for food were more beneficial than a lot of this new stuff that's come out in the last 10 years.
Right. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure if we're still on track here for talking about fibromyalgia, because, and I think it's okay, because all of these things are important regardless of what a health issue might be. And I was thinking about it last night. We had gone up to the store to get some sourdough bread. My wife wanted some sourdough bread. And I was thinking about the extra money that it costs to buy grass-fed beef and organic foods. And now I got to go find, because you're right, I don't have room in my backyard for a cow. So I've got to go find a farmer that I can buy some milk from. All of that is going to cost me more money. Mm-hmm. However, I'm guessing it's going to be a whole lot cheaper than paying doctor bills and putting up with the loss of wages and the pain and suffering that goes along with not eating correctly.
You're 110% correct. Actually, back in the 1950s, people used a higher percentage of their income towards food than they do now. In a day and age when we should have the most nutritious food available for us in the world, we actually have the most profitable food.
Right. Well, profitable for
things, you know.
Yeah, profitable for the 10 companies that are supplying us with most of our modified foods.
Right. What I tell my clients is I'm like, do a 30-day plan, do a 60-day plan, a 90-day plan. Focus. Just focus for 30 days. If you can, and if 30 days seems like too much, 2 weeks, but have a focused plan of trying this and see, and check it out for yourself and see if that works for you. And now some people, no matter, like they're making $700 a month and 400 of it goes to rent. No way are they going to be able to get organic food. What I say then is, first of all, home cooked food. And second of all, like, use real ingredients, just real ingredients. And you're still better off than getting, the dollar McMeal. That's just the food coming through your windshield, through your window, your car window. You want to be aware of that.
Okay. All right. So Leah, have we missed anything that we want to talk to people about how they're going to cure fibromyalgia?
Well, let me just make it kind of sum it up so it's real clear. So the first step is mindset. The second step is detoxification, a mineral called zeolites, and you want to get the supplement form of that. There's quite a few good brands. The brand I use is called SH Zeolite Formula, and I use the capsules. And if people are interested in connecting with me about that, it's on sale at my store at leahsnaturalhealth.com. The second thing is you want a colonizing probiotic. The brand I like is SH Firm, FERM plus Pro, also at leahsnaturalhealth.com. Then real food. And the West A. Price Foundation, you can go to westapricefoundation.org. That's the kind of diet I generally follow. And it's real food. And I focus on chicken broth, eggs, pasture raised, and I don't do bone broth. I do just regular chicken broth or chicken stock. Liver, and I usually get that in capsules. There's the brand I like is called Perfect Supplements. It's not expensive. It's grass-fed, organic. Also available at leahsnaturalhealth.com. But you can get it other places as well. Let's see, butter and salt. And the butter I get is Kerrygold, and you can get that at any good grocery store.
Okay. Now it's Leah's Natural Food.
Natural Health. leahsnaturalhealth.com. That's a little store I have. I have what I did is I wanted to buy my supplements wholesale.
Right.
So I opened up a little shop of stuff I buy for myself, for my family, my friends, and my clients. It's almost everything there you can get other places, and so it's just a convenience.
Okay. Well, Leah, thank you so much for coming on the program today, because we want to give people real hope and not something that won't work or something that's going to be detrimental to them. And then we want that from real people who have come up through what they're talking about. So the sincerity that you have and the success that you've had, and we can pass that on to other people. That's what we want to do. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.